Ready to talk?
Let's
Right,
do our
little.
vocal exercises.
Anyways,
Cheryl Pop.
run the clock, baby. Hi, and welcome back to another episode of the Good Soul Collective. I'm Rianne,
I'm Jada.
I'm O'Neill.
and you found yourself on Good Soil. Anyways, so I just came back from Montreal, as you guys know, and I want to tell you guys this story about what my grandma, it's not really a story, but I was talking to my grandma and we were talking about life and what she wanted to do with her life and kind of how she feels her life has gone thus far. And she said, like, you know, she felt okay and she felt educated, and what she actually wanted to do, she didn't pursue, but she's happy with where she is. She says she feels blessed. She has wonderful, beautiful grandchildren and a whole bunch of other things that she feels blessed for. But something that she noted is that she feels fully dressed. These were her words exactly. She feels like she's fully dressed up in these fancy clothes with degrees and grandchildren. And now she lives in an apartment by herself and all of these good things. But she feels dressed with no underwear because she she said that she didn't have a foundation to build on. So that I thought was super interesting, and I want to talk about it because I think I am in a space where I might have gotten dressed with no underwear, but I've been in this process of undressing.
Wait, so when she said she feels like she has no foundation, like she has all this stuff, but like she feels like a fraud.
Like a fraud, yeah. She said
syndrome.
that too. She said that for her it stemmed from education. She went to school in Jamaica. She grew up in Jamaica, and she hadn't finished school, like primary school or whatever they called it then. And she, I guess, grew up, went to work in Jamaica and stuff, got married to my grandfather, and then they had moved to Canada. And when they had moved here, my grandpa had her go to school, and she ended up going straight to university.
Oh.
Not like, I guess, a GED or whatever.
Mm.
But I guess during that time they didn't really have that. I don't know. Anyways, she went to university and she ended up doing well because she had a lot of help. She said God had blessed her with people that helped her through school, that helped her get good paying jobs. But now when she's looking back on her life, she said there were things that she didn't pursue because she felt all of the things that she had achieved, she didn't achieve. Somebody helped her get it. And
what did she do? Or what
I know that she did support work. I think she was a support worker.
Mm-hmm.
But she wanted to be a nurse.
Okay, so
related.
Same type.
But having that conversation with her, like, I think it brought a lot of feelings and emotions up for me, because I'm like, there are a lot of things that I'm doing right now that could be considered good in like society based on age and timeline, and even in talking to like you guys and all of our friends, it's like
you're progressing well.
We're based on
your demographic of like your
demographic.
Yeah.
But I can relate to feeling like, you know, I miss my underwear. I didn't build on a foundation of something that was strong, and that foundation of like what's internal and how I feel internally doesn't necessarily present what's going on the outside.
What do you feel that, I get what you're saying, where you feel like, hey, I feel like I'm not qualified to do this, or I'm out of my element, or what have you. What do you feel that would be missing? Like, what's that thing that you're like, my house of cards is about to crumble?
Well, I guess that was part of the issue too, is I feel like I'm dressed with no underwear, or I guess the better way to put it is I got dressed, but I didn't pick my clothes.
We're calling this episode No Briefs. No briefs.
Maybe. I got dressed, but I didn't pick my clothes. So there are a lot of things where I work right now. Like, this wasn't in the plan, but I didn't have one. Like, I had a plan, and that plan kind of fell through a while ago. Yeah. And then I just kind of kept walking. But I think because I had no foundation, I had nothing to go back to. So I just kept putting stuff on. And
I get what you're saying. You're like, oh, this fits. Okay, I'm gonna wear this.
Put this on. And then I walked, and it was like a shirt. Ugh. I'm gonna put this on. And I think a lot of us, even like I when I say I think a lot of us, it's like talking in our friend group. I think a lot of us just put stuff on, and now we're like here and we have clothes on. It looked like we got dressed in the dark because we're like, ooh, this doesn't match, or this is not what I wanted to wear.
Yeah.
And the hardest part is like, you've come so far. This is how I feel. I've come so far and I'm dressed. I don't like how I'm dressed, but in order for me to change, I have to take stuff off. Mm-hmm. And that feels like I'm going backwards. And there's also like this like thing in your head of like, I want to be dressed the fastest. I have a timeline for when I'm supposed to be ready.
Right.
And if I have to take stuff off,
it's gonna delay your
It's delaying. Time. But the other thing is, I have no idea what I want to wear.
So well, I think when it comes to that, number one, a lot of people that I know, like I have a lot of family members, and I know a lot of people that went to school for something, and they're not doing the thing they went to school for, right? Unless you're in like a very specialized practice, like doctor, lawyer, like usually, just because of the financial commitment, no one's gonna spend like tens of thousands of dollars to become a lawyer and then just be like, some people do. A lot of people that like went to school for one thing, and then what they're doing is, and I think there's some statistic, like a high number of people that go to school for one thing, they end up doing something different, or they find out like, you know what, this isn't for me, when you actually get out into the real world. Which is why I always suggest to people, if you want to go into an industry, like, and you're going to university or something for it, like, volunteer in that industry to find out. Like for me, social work, I thought like, oh yeah, I would excel in social work. I would do great in social work. I'm like, I don't want to be in this industry at all. Like I won't talk about it, but like I was just like, yeah. I looked at people that had been doing it for like 40 years and stuff like that, and I was like, I don't want to be there. So that's the one thing. But also in terms of like putting on clothes, I get it. Like putting on clothes that you didn't plan this outfit, you didn't plan to take this course or to do this or to do that. You'll find as time goes on, and this is something I've had to learn over time, not everything you put on you have to take off. Sometimes you realize, oh, these socks are actually very useful. I thought I wanted those socks, but I'm going to keep these socks on. You know what I mean? And it could be things that you learn like as a manager at like Wendy's, or, you know, if you work at like Sport Check, or you worked at a restaurant and stuff like that. Like little things that will either help you professionally or like in life. Like you see how I like cook food now. Mm-hmm. Most of that came from working at Earl's. Like I never went to school for culinary, but I worked in this restaurant for a year, and I'm like, okay, I'm good. You know, but it is tough. I get it is tough, especially when you have like your own timeline. But there's something that I think like one of our pastors said, it was the shortcut is the long way. If you try to take shortcuts, you end up
taking the long way. This is
the wrong shortcut. Let me do this way. Oh, this, and you're zigzagging all the way rather than taking the hard road. But I don't know. It's very common for people. I don't know about you. You can talk about, because you're doing what you went to school for. So how do you feel with your clothes? Are you wearing briefs, first of all?
I hope so. But my journey into this is something where I made sure to really set my foundation and be like, okay, what do I feel called to do? What do I enjoy doing? Mm-hmm. And what do I also excel in? And I was like, okay, this is a field that I feel like would be a good fit. It's something that my whole life I've always been interested in various ways. And there's so many ways I could pivot and move in and out of it, just in terms of what I'm doing. And even in the past 4 years of being in this industry, and then the previous 4 years of going to school for it, the way I've gone about it has changed, but the core has always remained the same of creatively pushing myself. So I feel like as long as I'm doing that in some capacity, if I'm working in animation, if I'm doing illustration, if I'm doing motion graphics, it's all the same to me. Like, it's not one thing that I need to like stick with, like, oh, I have to become the greatest animator. It's, I just want to create, and however I serve that in whatever capacity, I'm sure I'll be fine.
Yeah, because you built the foundation.
Yeah.
Okay, I want to pivot a little bit, not too much, because this was like a realization for me that I've had like recently. And when we talk about foundation, which is super interesting, the first thing that we talked about in terms of talking to my grandma was professional. Like when we talk about foundation and what I wanted to do, we automatically think professional. And I think that's so interesting because professionally is like what you do, but not necessarily who you are.
Right.
So now
it's what you get. It's what pays your bills.
It's what pays your bills. And like in having this conversation and stuff, this is like part of doing this podcast is me undressing, because I'm going back to build a foundation, and I'm not looking at it professionally. Because part of my question of like me not wearing what I want to wear, I think that professionally it's a piece of clothing. Like, this is what I want to do professionally. These are my pants.
Right.
But in terms of like the foundation and the whole outfit, what you do professionally only makes up one part of the outfit. Yeah. And I think that's super interesting. And not enough people talk about that. When we talk about like, what are we doing with our lives? Automatically we think, what am I doing professionally?
Well, I mean, it's fair too, because it takes up so much time. Like, ideally you want to do what you love for work. But no, I get it. Yeah,
but I think that thought process is, I think that like part of it is what was detrimental for me in like 2021, 2022 too. Those were like the worst years of my life. And it was because I was, in terms of professional, like professionally, I was working, I was making like more money than most people in my age bracket. But that didn't help. It didn't do anything.
Crying at night, wiping your face with $50 bills.
Okay. First of all, that's terrible for your skin. But in terms of like my question of what am I doing with my life?
Yeah.
What am I building? Like, what foundation?
What mark are you making?
What mark am I making? What impact am I making? What am I doing? So I'm still working on it. I mean, I still don't know about foundations and like what my foundation is working on.
So you don't have the foundation laid out. Do you have an idea of like, do you have blueprints of like, these are things that I want? That's
what I think I've been doing for like the last year, and how this has been helpful. Like talking to you guys and stuff has been helpful.
You're welcome.
I just knew that that was coming out of your mouth. Like, I literally just knew
I'm a polite individual. Continue.
I don't know what my outfit is going to look like, but I think if I focus on building the foundation, if I get my underwear on, I'm talking like nice Licenza two-piece matching set.
Breathable.
Right. If I'm wearing some nice underwear, the outfit is going to come together. And even if like right now the outfit, it doesn't look good, I can take some pieces off.
Yeah.
But if I ever have to strip naked, my undergarments they're together. My foundation is together. And Pastor Andrew has been talking like brick by brick that what is that called? Sermons. Yeah. That sermon that he's been talking about, I think like in relating it to my life, it's like I'm just building, like once I have this foundation, which I think my foundation is set now on faith and who I want to be, how I want to show up in the world. I think once our foundations are set,
it translates into everything you do.
Everything.
So no matter where you go, even if you're like, I don't know what industry or profession I want to be in, you know, if something conflicts with your
my
values,
foundation,
with where you're going in life,
I'm not going to build that.
I'm
not going to add a piece to that.
Yeah.
In terms of like health,
right.
I'm like, I know my foundation of who I want to be. I don't want to like be 70 and like
Quasimodo. No, that makes
I'm
sense.
gonna now. I don't know what my fitness is gonna look like years from now.
Yeah.
But if every day, you know, I'm moving my body, I know that years from now, I'm not gonna I have a lesser probability of ending up.
Yeah. You might be changing your jacket or changing something on the outside, but you're
Right.
like, okay, you've built up a certain thing, like, because it is important to know, like, hey, I don't want to do this. Like, I don't want to be a police officer. I don't want to be a firefighter. I don't like respect to them, but I don't want to do that. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
my impact and what I want to do is very different. So,
But it's okay to not know. It's okay to not know
detailed.
what everything is going to look like. But once you have a foundation, then what you're building, like it'll stay. It'll be sturdy.
Mm-hmm.
Some decisions make themselves.
Right.
Even within my own job, my own career path right now, there's certain things where I was like, oh, I'm not going to work on that. Or, oh, I can't do this. It doesn't align with my values and where I know I want to go, even if I don't fully know where I want to go. I just know, oh, that doesn't align with my character, so that's not something I could attach myself to.
Mm-hmm.
And those things, like I wasn't expecting to like start my own thing, but I had to out of necessity because of the options that were available to me.
Go J2Go Studios. Shameless plug.
5-time award-winning short film.
Thank you. Thank you. But what was I saying? Yeah. Some decisions just make themselves because you see, oh, this option that's available to me doesn't align with my values, doesn't align with who I am, doesn't align with basically you. So
the wrong things will cancel themselves out.
Yeah.
Right.
Exactly.
Right. And then you won't be looking a hot mess when you get dressed.
Mm-hmm.
The last thing that I think I want a note on is like timeline.
The timeline?
Yeah. Because that I think is like a big factor on like when we think about, I'm not dressed correctly. If there was no timeline, it doesn't matter if you're not dressed correctly. You're like, I can just get redressed.
Oh, it matters less.
It matters less. It matters less. But then when you like add like, I'm 26 and this is, I don't have a house. I still live with my parents. Yes. I'm not married with 2 kids, which is probably good because I've killed a cactus.
They're actually quite difficult.
Okay, we know you didn't have to point that out. But there are just so many things that I'm like, I don't have this, I don't have that. Yeah. But I'm at this point in my life.
To other people at your age?
I think yes and no, but
or is it like a family pressure where it's like
not so much family pressure, but I think more comparison to people my age, and which is super crazy because most of the people I know my age are like
same boat, but
also you don't know people's story. Listen, a lot of times people be like, oh my gosh, everyone's getting married this year. 5 years down the road, divorce. Da, 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 da. That's why I don't compare myself to anyone. Some people are like making racks and racks, and I'm like, oh really? And I've talked to some people and they're like, these are the stuff I'm doing. I'm like, oh, you could go to jail tomorrow and you'd be in jail. So I'm like, you know what?
No, it's true. It's true. But I think like what I've been learning is focusing on longevity. Like the race is not about how fast I can build things and how fast I can put things on, but
just keep running. Can you keep running?
Can I keep going? What's my stamina and endurance?
Mm-hmm. That's true.
Yeah.
That's true. A lot of people out here on performance enhancing drugs, metaphorically speaking, and burning out after 200 meters. That's a whole different topic. But, but you were saying that you're I think something else I know we're talking about timeline, but you said your grandma got a lot of help, and I think that's an important aspect to know. Like your community, even if it's not the same community you had at like 20 that you have at 30, constantly having a community around you helps you get a lot further. And to your grandma's credit, I'm sure she wasn't a difficult person to like. I'm sure she wasn't like stubborn and not taking direction. Otherwise,
questionable. I'm kidding, Grandma. If you watch this, I'm just joking. Your granddaughter love you. Love you.
But yeah,
bisu.
But that's so important because if she didn't have community, like her life would be totally different.
Yeah.
And it's important, I think, to surrender yourself to community, not like 1 or 2 people, but like. Anything you want to do, like you talk to a bunch of people and you kind of, I think that's super, super powerful.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it's okay to get that help.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It just means while you're changing, they're covering you. Ooh. But yeah, community, timeline, and what was the first thing? Oh, changing clothes. Put on your briefs.
Or get undressed. if you have to.
But make sure you're covered first.
Oh, but well, yeah. have community to cover you while you get undressed and build your foundation.
This is all metaphorical. Please don't go out there. We're not advocating for public nudity. We're not nudists, as you can see.
Fully clothed.
So we're trying to have open dialogue with you guys. And some of the stuff we'll talk about, we'll take from you guys. You know what I mean? Whatever you guys want to hear us talk about, things you agree with, disagree with, because we're building community, right? We're all trying to build good soil. So the comments, we really, really appreciate. That's probably my favorite thing. Like the video, you can subscribe, share the link with a friend if you found value in this and you think there's somebody who like, I know someone who needs to change their clothes, you know? And click the bell notification, and every time it drops, it'll be like, bling, and then you'll be able to check out the video. Last thing, for any resources, check the little like comment box below, the description box below, and we're gonna have like links to resources and things out there to help you guys. Also, if you guys find any resources that you think that would be good for people to know, let us know in the comments. Let us know. We can drop it in the description box for everybody to see. All right.
And remember, it's still good soil.